So we'll see how they go and if they're truly scary. I also have my water to stay hydrated, and of course, it's in a cowboy boot cup. Okay, okay. Our first story is me and my friends went camping. Apparently, they never existed. So me, 19M, and my friends Aaron and Noah, also 19M, have been meaning to go on a camping trip in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. We had heard the rumors of how haunted the area was, which had immediately caught our interest, as we had intended to go on a camping trip with the intention of hopefully finding something spooky or paranormal. It was also not too far away from us, as we all lived in Boston, so it was only around a 5-hour drive. For a bit of context, me and my friends had known each other for around 4 months, as we had all just started attending the same college, and all three of us shared a dorm room. I got to know them pretty quickly and became quite close with them. Both Aaron and Noah had previously known each other from high school, so I was kind of the new guy to them. However, they would both always talk about how they were big into the paranormal scene and are very interested in investigating sometime. I'm also very interested in the paranormal, and me and one of my close friends from high school actually went investigating at some local attractions previously, so Aaron and Noah both suggested that over winter break we should all go camping and do some investigating for ourselves. They suggested we go camping in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, as it's widely regarded as haunted, and there are many ghost stories from that area. So we all agreed, and I asked if I could bring my friend from high school that I had previously been investigating with, as we had both been talking about meeting up for a trip sometime. So my friend, Ryan, 19M, agreed for this trip, and we made a group chat for planning. So cut to winter break. We're all excited, and Ryan had met Aaron and Noah prior to the trip, so he wasn't going camping with two strangers. We had also left around 3 p.m., which was kind of late considering it got dark around 5 p.m. since it was winter, but Aaron insisted we didn't leave too early. He blamed it on not being a morning person, which was immediately strange, as he was always the first to get up each morning, and had never previously mentioned anything about it. But at the time, I didn't think too much into it. Around 3 hours into our drive, it was already pitch black out, and we still had another 2 hours left to kill, which Ryan was complaining about, as it was only meant to be a one-night camping trip, and now it felt like it was going to be shortened down. Aaron and Noah didn't seem to care, however, and they were still saying it was going to be a good trip. Keep in mind Noah was driving, which will be important later. We were now an hour away from arriving. We were literally in the middle of nowhere. Noah insisted on stopping at this random one-way road so he could take a leak, and Aaron said he would go with him. 5 minutes had passed, and me and Ryan were just having a conversation and talking about it. We were kind of mad that we still hadn't arrived yet, considering how late it was. Another 5 minutes passed, and we started to get concerned as to how long both Aaron and Noah had been away for. We both agreed to go out and check. We got out of the car and proceeded to call their names, but there was no response. We weren't too worried, as we both kind of collectively thought they were just trying to scare us, so we decided to get in and wait another 10 minutes or so, as it would likely get bored or cold, or both, and just came back to the car. Keep in mind Noah still had the car keys with him, so we were both pretty annoyed considering we were already hours late. After another 10 minutes passed, there was no sign of Noah or Aaron, and we started to get a little creeped out. We got out of the car yet again, only to be met with the sound of the car doors just as we got out, ultimately locking us out of the car and trapping us in the freezing cold. We both just looked at each other, visibly annoyed, as Noah and Aaron surely had to be playing a joke on us since the car locked, so someone had the keys and was nearby doing that to the car. So we both decided to go together and walk in the same direction they went to take a leak in. But keep in mind, the road was surrounded by trees, so it's not like we could just see them hiding behind a bush or something. We both walked out into the woods quite far, to the point that the car wasn't visible anymore, and all of a sudden we heard a chainsaw start up to our left, and there was a guy in a black hoodie running towards us with a chainsaw. We both sprinted back towards the direction of the car, and once we got to the road, the car had disappeared. It was the exact same piece of road in which we were parked, as there was a very distinguishable boulder not too far from the road that was very recognizable. So we knew we were in the right spot. Both me and Ryan agreed to run along the road, hoping to run into a car or maybe a house, but we could still hear the chainsaw in the distance. Thankfully, we ran for about a mile and ran into someone driving along the road. We stopped him and explained our situation, and he agreed to give us a ride to a more populated area, as there was apparently a small town not too far away. We arrived at the town and called the police and told them everything that happened, and they put out a search for both Aaron and Noah, as they were assumed to be either in danger or missing. As if the car was gone, then someone would have to have taken the keys off of them. We gave the police their information, but they were confused, as nothing came up for either of them. I then explained how they attended the same college as me and we were roommates, but that was really all I knew. The officer said that was enough for the night, and they were able to transport us back home to Boston, and we would be questioned tomorrow. However, by the time we got back to the dorm room, all of Noah and Aaron's belongings were gone. There was not a trace of them in the dorm room. It was as if they had never lived there, or they had moved out. When the police officer arrived for further questioning, he discovered that there was no record of Aaron and Noah ever attending the college and became suspicious of us. A sick feeling filled my stomach as I realized what was really going on. Aaron and Noah must have lured me and Ryan out to try to murder us, using fake names and pretending to attend college for months to gain my trust. That is pretty scary. I mean, I've never been chased with a chainsaw, but I'm assuming that that is not an enjoyable experience. It's also really weird that, like, they would just leave. I mean, I'm not sure if this is more paranormal about, like, Aaron and Noah, but why would they, like, attend a college, and get close to somebody just to murder them? I guess it could have been anyone random if they were planning it, right? But that is pretty scary. I mean, especially if you already go into it knowing you're gonna, like, do some paranormal investigating. You already kind of have that, like, me and my friends go ghost hunting, so, we're professionals. But you do have that kind of, like, scary, like, almost adrenaline feeling, because you know it's gonna be scary. So, I'm sure that, like, switching from, like, a paranormal investigation to running for your life is really scary. It says here that he doesn't know if there's going to be any updates, because they don't know if they'll ever see the people that pretended to be their friends. But he said that they will post an update, and this was 31 days ago. And that was his last post, so I guess no update to come. Water break. Okay, 7 years old. I would miss my grandpa a lot and fear for his safety. He was very healthy and an active man, but I was always be afraid of anything happening to him. I had this bond with him that was not like my bond with my other grandpa. One night I was crying because I missed him a lot, and I fell asleep and dreamt that he was attacked by someone and died. To dispose of his body, someone took a chainsaw. What is it with all these chainsaws happening in the stories, guys? To dispose of his body, someone took a chainsaw and started cutting up his body, removing parts and whatnot. I was so freaked out by this that when I woke up, I never forgot the dream. 10 years later, he moved to Florida to be with his wife, not my grandmother. This woman was money hungry and didn't care about him much. 3 months after he moved, we found out he had passed away, and it was so sudden given that he was a healthy and active man. We soon realized all the signs pointed to a murder poisoning. We all knew his wife did it to him, but the police or the hospital would not further investigate given that he was older. 3 weeks after his death, we received the death certificate and noticed he was donated to science. His wife donated his body to them without our knowledge, and the place does inhumane processes to the body. He was cut up. It was only until a year ago I realized that my childhood dream and what happened to him were both the same. This still haunts me to this day, and I'm so afraid of dreaming of another loved one dying. That is pretty scary. I have always been fascinated by dreams, and, dreaming of somebody like dying is like really scary, and it's like not even scary, but it's really sad, because death, of course, is will happen to everybody, and I have a really, really big fear of death, so, it's sad in that sense, but that's also scary that, like, he kind of, like, had a vision of, like, what was gonna happen to his grandpa. I mean, even though the train song wasn't, like, 100%, like, that's not, like, how he died, like, he still was donated to science and cut up. So it's very prophetic. Okay. Time for story number 3. This one says, unusual ghost experience that makes me wonder. Now I'll probably give a little backstory before I actually tell you what happened a lot throughout my life. Ever since I was a child, I have always creeped out my parents and siblings. I have quite a big family, and we used to live in a decent-sized apartment. We lived in quite a remote area, but it was calm, not like a creepy alleyway covered in poverty and drug dealers or anything, just a normal apartment building with an alright scenery. The building itself was not old or eerie in a way, like the average horror film. It just looked like a cozy, slightly messy, nostalgic home. I was a decently weird kid. I would often sleepwalk, sleep talk, and scream loudly from dreams or cry out at everyone. Not only in my home, but our neighbors' homes as well would wake up all the time from my reckless, noisy habits. I was the eldest child, so a lot of other families were shocked that the core of my parents' problems was me. As you know, the eldest is usually expected to be another mature figure in the younger siblings' lives. We went to a lot of doctors to see if I had any psychological problems, or just some sort of paranoia or sleeping disorder due to a trauma response. I was given everything. Benzos, sedating antidepressants, and melatonin, but all my options ran cold eventually, and none of the prescribed ever ended up helping from my same recurring dream and thoughts. Now the weird thing is that the dream step by step, is always implanted in my brain. I'm a younger version of myself, playing in a backyard that's unrecognizable, like I've never seen it before, not in some movie or series. I'm playing with this normal doll, which always looks like one of my family members, pain from the weight of the item and drop it immediately. And once I do that, I look silently at the doll for a moment before feeling a bead of rain drip down my forehead. I turn to look to the side to see this very tall lady looking down at me, but her neck is elongated and her arms reach down to her ankles, and she has a mole right in the middle of her chin and doesn't have any eyelids at all. It's kinda sounding like the other mother from Coraline. She warns me about something every single dream, whispering down my ear something new every single time, how misfortune was coming my way and how I was in incredible danger, or that grief would make its way around to me. And after she said that, my neck would build pressure, almost like fingers or a rope tying to my neck. I could see my reflection through the droplets on the floor. My face is going a darker shade of purple. As the pain starts to go through my body, it felt like I was on fire. And I would wake up, unable to move, and the same woman would be staring me down before putting her finger to her lips and getting closer and closer to my face. Her breath was cold and smelled like rotting animal meat, telling me not to tell anyone about her identity before I would wake up with an extremely sore throat and excruciating leg pain. After another experience, my mother had taken me to some sort of therapist. On the way, she complained about how pricey it was and how I should tell him what I've been experiencing. As soon as I left the car and was in that room, I cried my eyes out about how this woman scared the living crap out of me. I told him everything, her appearance, her threats, and how scared to death I was. But in the end, he told me I should get some sleep and get melatonin gummies to help with the sleep. Like always, the creepy experience is when I had got back. That sentence really didn't make a lot of sense. When I had taken my shoes off at the door, I felt a strong, rotting smell nearby my room. I felt tears basically roll down my face before I decided to open the door. A dead badger was left in my room, and I don't know how long it could have been there. I watched flies drop on the body, a few maggots still crawling. I walked closer to the body to see a dirty fingernail right beside the body. It was long and overgrown, the exact same to the woman who's dug into my neck in my dream. And after that, things in my room would disappear. Important items like keys or teddy bears that I couldn't sleep without. Keys or teddy bears, how old are we? And I would never see them again. Just trails of something like hair or hanging nail. The evidence was always left there, reminding me to never open my mouth again. A couple years later we moved, and I never experienced that dream again. I actually forgot about what happened entirely until I saw one of my old one-on-one session books with the drawing of this lady. I could never forget the way her hands tightened around my neck and the smell of her breath on my skin. That one is definitely terrifying. Like sleep paralysis, but like worse. I used to get a lot of sleep paralysis when I was younger, and I still sometimes get sleep paralysis. But that is really crazy that, like, once he did tell the story to somebody, like, she would start stealing things. But once they moved away, it never happened. Like, that is scary. Water break. Okay. We have our last story for the night. This one is called Paranormal Experiences at Our Family Farm. Our family farm has been a part of our family for generations upon generations. Everyone was born there and died there, many under suspicious circumstances. My 93-year-old grandfather and his brother were the last to be born there in the 1930s. My great-uncle was the last to die there back in 2013. Found by the fence, he had blunt force trauma to the back of the head, and there was a fire set, assuming to hide the evidence. But instead of engulfing him, it looked like someone or something protected like a circle around him that preserved his body. My great-uncle always wore Old Spice deodorant, and every time my dad and I walked through a small hallway, we would always smell it out of nowhere. In the living room, I always had a gut feeling somebody was sitting in the red chair in the corner. I would never sit there. My dog would never go in, and my young niece wouldn't either. When she was really little, she pointed and said, "Ghost," and has never been back in there. This is the crazy experience I've had, though. We have a screened in porch on the back with a hanging porch swing. In the summertime, it's warm and there's a perfect breeze. I set a 30-minute timer to take a nap on the porch swing. We all know the house is probably haunted, but that's family, so we are all comfortable. I drifted off on the porch swing and slightly pushed myself off so it would swing slightly, and I took my nap. I woke up after my 30-minute alarm and opened my eyes to the porch swing still strongly swinging. It had been 30 minutes and I barely pushed it to start. There are two chains that hold up the swing on either side. The swinging was coming from one side primarily, like someone was pushing the swing, but only from the left side, left chain. I bolted up and ran across the screen porch and looked. Obviously no one was there, and the porch swing immediately stopped swinging. It spooked me enough to not try that again. The swing incident happened last summer, and I do feel bad. It was probably my great-grandmother or someone maternal in my family just trying to push me on the porch swing. Now I leave a little bit of bourbon beside the red chair in the living room and always wave when I pass. I apologize for the long